Newsfield's Chuck Weber and photojournalist Dave Walker are the first TV crew to get a look, and they take us to the big lake.
A ride by airboat. A tromp across muck. Boots Boyer has plenty to show us.
This is prehistoric pottery. You can see it's got kind of a brim on it there. It's a conch shell made into a tool.
Finds like these are turning up on the shores of Lake Okeechobee since the water started plummeting toward record low levels.
Arrowheads, spearheads, the spearheads for spearing alligators.
And we can thank Boyer. Another spin in his airboat takes us to where the discoveries began. Normally, the lake covers the roots of these trees. Boyer was in here taking pictures, taking advantage of the low lake level. Imagine his surprise when he came across this. It's a motor with a flywheel. Surrounding it, the wooden frame of an old catfishing boat.
I mean, the Indians were the first people, but after the Indians, you had the catfishing industry. And then after that, you had the farming.
And Boyer and archaeologists are finding evidence of each period. From 100 plus years ago, 2 stacks of a steamship, possibly strewn across the lake by a hurricane.
You got copper nails, so...
A piece of a sailing vessel, likely 150 years old.
This is the safest spot for it right now because that's why it's been here for so long. It's preserved in the water.
Boyer says he has a whole new outlook on life.
We're just here to respect, because you're talking 4,000 years of history just right here. And it makes me appreciate every breath I take.
On the south end of Lake Okeechobee, Chuck Weber, WPEC News 12.
Photojournalist Dave Walker shows us the fun.
We're throwing cow chips, and it's become quite a festival here.
Cambridge, just for the throwing of the chips, man.
A cow chip is,
well, it's manure.
Crap that's dry.
Well, we used to call them pies.
The remainders of what a cow has eaten at the end of a day that they decide to poop out and just falls into a big pile, and they dry them so we can throw them.
Follow a cow around. Right down the line. You come in, you pick 2 chips.
This one looks nice. Pretty good weight. Good size, discus type.
I'm looking for something smaller that I can get a good grip on.
Everybody gets 2 throws.
Well, I'm going to go overhand, so, my girlfriend suggested to jump and a leap.
I want to do the leap because I think that will give me a little bit extra, height.
Sometimes they hit the stands, and that's pretty funny, too, when the people watching get hit.
I'm going to duck behind this guy.
We like to live dangerously.
You're throwing a piece of manure, okay?
It's just hokey. It's a lot of good family, wholesome fun. Something you can't get at a lot of festivals.
Some interesting aerodynamics on those cow pies.
It's a great event. I mean, people love it. It's just caught on. I mean, it's just a rural community.
It's unique. Where else can you throw a cow chip? You can't do that in New York City.
Live in Fort Pierce, Alex.
And Rick and Claudia, the flood levels here in this Fort Pierce neighborhood have been falling steadily, about a foot since we arrived here at 4 a.m. this morning, but still slow going, believe it or not. And we actually had a chance to go through this neighborhood earlier this morning, take a look at what we found. In the wake of Tropical Storm Faye, movement in and around this Fort Pierce neighborhood near 25th Street and Bell Avenue was virtually non-existent. Just walking up the street makes you feel like if you're trudging through the Amazon jungle, and I can only imagine the desperation of people that only have cars to get out of their driveways, and they can't do so because of obviously how deep the water really is. In some parts, the water went up almost 3 feet high. And for the Kreiser family, there was no saving the first floor of their almost 30-year-old home.
Well, the insurance adjuster won't come because he said, I will not walk where there's contaminated water. We're walking in it every day.
The water is filled with bacteria, not to mention possible snakes and perhaps even alligators that have spilled into the neighborhood from nearby flooded canals and creeks.
It smells like a fish house.
It's hard to look at it because he said all the walls have to be ripped out, the cabinets have to be ripped out. I don't know. We aren't going to be able to live in this house.
But the loss of property is only compounded by an inability to move around. For the folks here and in nearby communities, heavy floods mean not being able to do things many of us take for granted.
Look around. It's 2 days now and nobody can get out of their house. So there's people that can't get diapers, stuff like that. And we're just waiting for the water to go down, There's nothing we really can do at this point.
The last time floods like this ravaged Fort Pierce was back in 1985. Residents here thought it would never happen again. But even with the devastation, they're determined to clean up.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine because we're surviving. This is our home. We're not leaving.
And right here, if you could see, this is where the actual flood level line, you could see there, it was at that level earlier this morning. It is dropping steadily, but we're being told that there's going to be more rain headed this way in about an hour. And again, until the ponds and the creeks around this neighborhood start receding, this water is not going to go anywhere. So hopefully these people will get some relief in the next couple of days. Live in Fort Pierce, I'm Alex Akeda. Now back to you guys.
It's very sad. I mean, it's incredibly sad. I felt like crying this morning, you know, when I heard about it.
The sadness could be seen in the streets as crowds watched a Madison landmark burn.
We could see the black smoke pouring out, and then when we got up by the ramp up here, you could see the flames shooting out through the roof.
The fire started around 5:30 Monday morning. Crews from all over Madison doused water on the flames, but the fierce fire was enough to make the roof collapse, destroying the 150-year-old building. It also created a safety concern over a newly installed $1 million steeple that's over 100 feet tall.
Where the actual metal part begins, from that portion up, we were concerned about the structural integrity.
Contractors were called in to bring it down, but late this afternoon it was decided that the steeple is stable enough to stay. Now a main focus is dealing with the grief of this loss.
All of the baptisms and first communions and confirmations and weddings and funerals, it's untold numbers of folks throughout the history of Madison have literally have memories in that building.
And while the building may be crumbling down, St. Raphael's Monsignor is finding strength in his faith.
You know, I keep looking at that cross on top of the steeple in the sunlight, and you know, our faith is based not around buildings, it's based on one who rose. And so the theme of Easter is light comes out of darkness, and so faith gets us through.
Natalie Swaby, NBC 15 News.
Very good line.
Nina Spatola was getting good a long time ago. Now, the 17-year-old curler from McFarland is nearly world class.
That's perfect.
This high school senior has been curling since she was 10 and says she knew she wanted to compete in the Olympics the day she first curled a stone.
I knew it ever since I first started. I was like, I'm going to the Olympics. Right after my first lesson, I was going to be a piece of cake.
Nina started curling at about the same time the sport became an Olympic event during the 1998 Nagano Games.
Still made the shot.
Her former coach, Steve Brown, says that Olympic upgrade gave the sport a much-needed boost.
In the past, a lot of people kind of made fun of it, and it was a sport for older people or non-athletic people. All of a sudden, with medal status, it gave us a credibility that we never had in the sport.
And that credibility helped attract promising young stars like Nina Spatola.
Can I throw another draw?
And Brown, who still helps Spatola train, says watching an athlete like her perform is a testament to how tough curling can be.
You can take anybody out there on the ice and they think that can't be that hard. And you put this Teflon slider or shoe on their bottom of their foot, and pretty soon they're on their butt thinking, how in the hell do you do that?
Put the broom straight flat on the ice.
All right, now this is something I've got to try. And who better for a teacher than an Olympic hopeful?
Yep. And then push out. Yay!
So yes, it is a tough sport. And Spatola says it's something she couldn't live without.
In the summer when I can't curl, it's like I'm missing a part of my life, so I just love it.
When the season finally does roll around every fall, Spatola can be found at the rink 7 days a week, 2 hours a day. Her mom says that type of commitment can be tough on a teenager's personal life. But Nina says, with all the friends she's made curling, she doesn't feel like she's missing a thing.
Curling's also a family in itself, so I get closer relationships than I would even in school and stuff like that.
And she gets a shot at doing something most of her friends can only dream about: win a gold medal in the Olympic Games.
And she trusts what she's doing, she trusts her family, that they're giving the right guidance, and she trusts the coaching and the program that we're on, and I think she will be on the gold medal stand someday.